Hi, it's Kai and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my top 15 fragrances of the year. I know last year I just did 10, but I really couldn't deduce it down to just 10 this year because there were so many good launches. There were so many just like rediscoveries that I had, and even though I used a whole bunch of different perfumes, I'm actually going to also do a video of my most used perfumes of the year because I kept track of every single perfume that I've worn for the last year, every single day of perfume. So I'll definitely be doing that at some point once I get all of the data together for it. But these are just the perfumes that made the biggest impression on me this year, whether it was the time of year that I was wearing them or just they were fragrances that I ended up really enjoying this year. So anyway, without further ado, let's just stop the chatter and get into this video. These will also be in no particular order. I don't necessarily have one that is like my top favorite of the year. I feel like that would be like there's just again too many that I either wore a whole bunch or just ones that I really like the way that they smell and feel like they were just, striking to me. Anyway, again, we're supposed to be stopping the chatter. I'll go ahead and talk about these two because I did my Flur video where I did a full ranking and breakdown review of each of the Flur fragrances that I have and have tried. And two of them that were my top two of the year are Father Figure, which as you see, my bottle is hanging on its last leg. I'm literally saving this little bit for, whatever occasion, special occasion I feel like is fit to use the last of my bottle or until I can, go and get another full-size bottle. I'm just not like prioritizing buying perfume right now. So this one is a beautiful fig and vanilla scent. Again, talked about this in the other video, so if you want a full breakdown of that, you can go to the other video, but it's just a really nice fragrance that is fresh, it's sweet, a little vanillic, a little clean. It just hits so many different categories and I just find it beautiful. And then the other one is Vanilla Skin, which this is like a musky, sugary vanilla type of scent. And it is just beautiful. I remember smelling it because it went viral. Everyone went goo goo gaga over it. And sometimes when people go goo goo gaga over things, I do have in the back of my mind like, oh, is this something that is, actually good or does it just smell like vanilla? And sometimes both of those things are true and there's nothing wrong with something that just smells like vanilla, but this is just like a really light fluffy vanilla that doesn't smell like marshmallows necessarily. And I feel like a lot of our like lighter fluffy vanilla type of fragrances have had that marshmallowy sway this past year. So the fact that this one doesn't really have that marshmallow sway, even though Fleur literally has another one that has a little bit more of like a marshmallowy type of lightness. I like that this is still a light vanilla without it being again that like powdery marshmallowy type of vanilla. So both of those again you can find over on the other video if you want more in depth on those. And honestly 99% of these fragrances I've talked about, have dedicated videos on my TikTok, so you can definitely check those out. Just like searching my username, which is the same as here, I am Kai2, and then like the name of a perfume, and if I've talked about it, it will come up. This one didn't even launch this year, but it's one that I actually broke my January no buy for, and I've used I think about maybe a little bit more or less than half of it, but it's getting pretty, I would say, like the dent is denting for the fact that I've only had this since, mid or end of January, and it's Clean Reserve Sparkling Sugar. This is one that might have actually been in my video for last year, but it's one that has stayed a constant for me in my fragrance rotation. Whenever I want something that is sweet, but also a little bit clean and fresh, I like to put this one on. It's just not like a soapy clean type of fragrance, but it's again like uplifting. It doesn't really even have like a powderiness to it. It's just like a kind of fruity, musky type of sweet, slightly sweet scent. but not like overbearingly sweet. I don't know. It just smells really good. It is an amazing fragrance. I finished a travel size of it, I believe, last year or maybe even the beginning of this year. And then once I saw the full size bottle of this, I was just kind of like, let me get that because it's one that I knew I would still wear and still love throughout the year. Another one that's kind of in that same category of I tried it technically last year but upgraded it this year, and I only upgraded this one recently and even finished the travel size of it that I had from 2023. I think I purchased that in October of 2023 and then, you know, upgraded to the full size in October or November of 2024. So you know what I'm saying. That's all irrelevant. This is Way Melrose Place, which I think a Way fragrance, I want to say it was North Bondi, was the one that made it into my fragrances of the year for last year. So Way just finds its way back into my favorite fragrances, and it's again one that stays in my kind of everyday I want to just smell fresh and clean rotation. This one is definitely more on the soapy end of things. It just kind of smells like a floral laundry detergent, and they even have made this into a laundry detergent because it smells so good. I just absolutely love it. It's one that when I wanted to smell fresh and clean, I would put this on. If I wanted to honestly smell like I really didn't have a perfume on, both of these are fragrances where people have complimented the way that I smell, but not complimented my perfume. Like my sister will say something to the degree of, you smell really good. Did you change your laundry detergent? Rather than, you know, you smell really good. What perfume are you wearing? So if you're a person who likes those really light scents, if you like get headaches with scents really easily, I think that this is one that will definitely, you know, because it's just so light and fresh, it won't be too irritating to you. Again, it's one that even when I'm having a headache or like my stomach is feeling a little bit wonky and I don't want to smell like a food or smell gourmand, because those scents can kind of just be a little bit overwhelming when you're not feeling well, that's one that I like to go towards. So again, Way, I love both of them. Even North Bondi, I still have used a lot this year, but I definitely would say Melrose Place has, you know, taken over North Bondi's spot for like my favorite Way fragrance, as well as like the one that I just gravitate toward more. One that was a little bit unexpected for me because it was a newer brand. I got it in PR, but it's just a really pleasant vanilla, like very light vanilla, sandalwood, and amber, I think are the notes in this, even though it kind of smells like there's a little bit of a floralness to it. It's Voyage from Riddle. They have a few different fragrance oils, and this one just smells, it has that vanilla sweet scent, but it smells like a vanilla scented hair product. Like, you know, it's still almost fresh and clean, but it's not really like clean, if that makes sense. I don't know if any of that is making sense. Again, it has that vanilla there. There's a sandalwood that doesn't smell like pickles, because I can definitely pickle with sandalwood. It's like creamy, but I definitely think maybe that's what's giving it more of a floral sway, because from what I've been learning about perfumery and aroma chemicals that can make up sandalwood accords, some of them are more creamy, some of them are more pickly, some of them are more woody, and then others can even sway a little bit more floral. So I think that's where this one is at. And then amber, which could honestly in today's day and age mean a wide array of different smells, but it just kind of gives it that like soft roundness. I feel like amber, like this isn't like a resinous amber or anything like that. It's really, again, just kind of soft floral, creamy. I actually put it on today because I was just like, oh, I haven't worn this one in a while. And when I was thinking of what perfumes were ones that captured my attention. I just remember that I had went through a whole love affair with this one from Riddle in particular. And Riddle's fragrances, I haven't done I think like a brand breakdown on them. I can definitely do that if that's something you'd be interested in. But a lot of them were nice fragrances. So this was kind of like a little bit of a dark horse brand. I hadn't really heard of them before. Again, they offered to send me something and I was like, oh, I actually really like these. When Juliet Has a Gun announced that they were coming out with a cherry fragrance, I was kind of in the camp of people who were like, oh, another cherry fragrance, how innovative, because I feel like we've just kind of been ran through and ran dry with cherry, but they definitely did something different with Juliet. I absolutely love this one. I think either sniffed it or got a sample of it and really liked it, and then ended up getting because they didn't have at the time the travel size of this alone. It was out of stock pretty much everywhere. I saw this with like a little mini dabber bottle of Juliet Has a Gun, Not a Perfume, which that one's not my favorite perfume if I'm being completely honest. So I ended up getting that, selling the Not a Perfume because I was like, I really don't like it, and keeping this just so that I could have this scent because again, I really ended up enjoying it. It's cherry, but it's not medicinal cherry. It's definitely more of like a sweet, like fresh cherry almost. This smells clean, but there's also a pepperiness, which pepperiness can be one of those notes, or pepper can be one of those notes that people kind of like, shy away from, but I definitely think it gives it an edge without being overly peppery. And again, some people are really going to pick up that note on their skin. I am a person where peppery woods can kind of like come out in a fragrance a little bit more. And this one again has those peppers. It has a little bit of a woody base, or like a woody musky base. And I don't get something that's super sharp out of that fragrance. So it's one that if you're tired of the syrupy cherries, tired of the gourmand cinnamon type of cherries, definitely try that one out. It might turn you into a cherry fragrance lover. I believe this one is one of the fragrances that might have already been discontinued. It was technically a limited edition collection, but I don't see it on the website anymore, even though I see the fragrances, like the other two fragrances from this collection there. And I don't know whether that is because it just sold out so quickly or if it wasn't selling in comparison to the other two. But either way, Tash Day Cafe, which was the collaboration with Ethan Gaskell and Le Monde Gourmand, this one was my favorite, my personal favorite of the collection. All three of the fragrances smelled absolutely amazing, but this one in particular, it just has this interestingness to it. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just really interesting. It has notes of like coffee, or I think it might be espresso specifically, but that's coffee, duh. It's like paper and ink, and you really do kind of get that sitting in a coffee shop, writer type of vibe, or journaling with your cup of coffee. It was just a really nice fragrance. It also reminds me of like leaving my corporate job because I wore this a lot around the time that I was leaving there, and it just translated into a power fragrance for me. So this is one that I wear when I want to feel very like powerful. It's maybe a little bit more on the traditionally masculine side, but to me it really isn't masculine. It's just kind of like a little bit more woody, and again, coffee. I don't know. When I talk about or try to express gender and perfume, it never really like works out the way that I want it to, because it always goes back to the way that I think of even just gender in general. Like, who said this was the only way that this gender has to be expressed? Especially when there's been over time in history so many things that have like gender swapped. Like, what is the point? So either way, most people would say that is more traditionally masculine, but I think it's only because it kind of has those woody, deeper type of aspects to it. This one was one of my late in the year type of favorites, but I have to put it in here because of the dent that I've put in it. And I've only had this again since I want to say the beginning of November, and I've put like I said, really decent dent in it despite it being a like hair and body mist. This one doesn't really act like a hair and body mist. It definitely has good projection, good longevity. I can smell it on my clothes like the day after, like if I have a t-shirt or something and I'm putting it in the laundry, I can still smell it. This is Being Frenchy Moon Milk, which is another one that I feel like went pretty viral, especially more recently. And as of now, I think it's limited edition, but I think this is definitely coming back permanent. I want to say that they launched it as like a limited edition holiday fragrance so that they could test the waters. And once they figured out that this is like the fragrance of the moment, especially the affordable fragrance of the moment, they were like, okay, we can maybe invest in bringing this as a whole line. But this is arguably the best fragrance in the Being Frenchy line. It is just so, it's got like ginger, but it's also got like this frothy, milky type of undertone there too. It's got almost like a chai spice to it. I just can't get over this scent. It is so beautiful. And it's one that, even though it's definitely a little bit more warmer, kind of gourmand, I feel as though the ginger brightens it up enough that come spring and summertime, I could still see myself wearing this. I don't think it's going to be one of those gourmands or like frothy, milky type of fragrances that I'm like, okay, I like wearing this in the cooler months, but in the warmer months, it's just a little bit too dense and overwhelming. Oppositely, this is one of the fragrances that reminds me of earlier in the year. It also reminds me of like first date jitters and like excitement and butterflies in your stomach and stuff too, because I wore this a lot on first dates when I was going on them earlier in the year, which I'm probably going to do a dating wrapped. I'm probably going to do it. Be on the lookout for that if you care at all. But this is Match Made in Heaven from Sorcellery Apothecary. It has notes of matcha, which I love when the notes are on the bottle. Just saying. But it has notes of matcha, vanilla soft serve, waffle cone, cherry blossom, almond, and sandalwood. In this, you really get that like earthy matcha. It's not like a green tea, you know, zesty, citrusy type of matcha or tea fragrance. It smells like an earthy, like you're, you know, when you whisking is what it's called, when you're whisking up the matcha to like make your drink. You know, matcha is supposed to be earthy from what I understand. But then there's also like a waffle cone-ness, which is creamy and a little buttery. But there's also maybe even a little bit syrupy, and that could just be like my bottle being from earlier in the year and kind of, you know, having some time to age. So the scent is really like some of those deeper, more vanillic notes are really deepening. But it does have like a very buttery waffle cone type of scent as well. I think along with the earthiness, there's like a slight nuttiness and even a slight floralness. It's a beautiful fragrance that went viral for, you know, good reason. I understand why everyone and their mom was trying to get their hands on it. Way blessed everyone this year with a St. Bart scented hair and body mist, which this is supposed to smell like some of their hair care and like their, what is that called? Their body scrub in particular, or hair and body scrub product. Even though I think they now carry some of their products in like multiple different of their scents, because I want to say that there's also a Melrose Place hair and body scrub, or maybe that's a body cream. I don't know, but some of their scents coordinate with different hair and body care products in their line. But a lot of people wanted the St. Bart scent because this is just a really nice, like clean tropical type of scent. There's like a little bit of coconuttiness, a little bit of like a almost fruitiness kind of. We've got those tropical florals. It's beautiful. And again, they finally gave us the, body mist or fragrance version of it, even though I definitely would love to see an eau de parfum. I do feel as though the body scrub in particular, and it could be because the body scrub has actual like sugar crystals in it, that it smells a little bit sweeter, whereas this smells a little bit brighter and cleaner, but they're basically the same exact scent. And in particular, this reminds me a lot of the vacation that I went on over the summer. It was a really nice time going to the beach with the person that I was dating at the time. And again, it just stokes all of those like positive memories of being with that person. And similarly, I actually have Blocky in every season. This is another kind of like coastal floral, but it's definitely more on the white florals. There's a kind of like skin salty musk underlying it. It's absolutely gorgeous. This was the one that I wore more so like during the nighttime or when I wanted something that smelled a little bit less like clean and fresh than this. There's kind of like a grit to it. That's the only way that I can really describe it. So I really like this. I had a little sample of it, used up the whole sample, and they sent me this full bottle of it. I am a Blocky affiliate, so you can get a percentage off if you want to try their fragrances if you use my code, which I'll put somewhere on the screen. I think it's like Kai15. And then I also have a link in my description box with all of my other links and like on my link tree and stuff. So if you ever are looking for a link, it's all there. This one is really beautiful. I also really liked Brazilian Lily from them during the springtime as well, but I don't have, like, I went through the sample of that and then I didn't get the full size, or I haven't purchased the full size. So that's one that I actually have on my like perfume wish list. But again, I'm just not prioritizing buying a lot of fragrance right now. One that has been a consistent love from the beginning of this year to the end of this year, it actually might have been one that I tried out last year or like got a sample of last year and fell in love with it, and then subsequently cannot take myself, like I've even worn this more recently. It's not something that most people would think is a winter fragrance, which of course you don't have to wear your fragrances according to the seasons, but it's something that sometimes I like to do, more of my vanilla gourmands, heavier beast mode fragrances in the winter time where they're not going to overwhelm and suffocate me, and my lighter, fresher fragrances more in the spring and summertime. This one I just keep wearing. I just want it. I just need it. I have a full bottle of it, and even putting a dent in my full bottle is making me a little bit nervous, because this is one, if I had to pick one fragrance this year that I would say was my fragrance of the year, it probably would be this one, because I just absolutely love it and use it so much. It's the maker Libertine. It is a fresh, zesty, citrusy fragrance with a little bit of woodiness there. And like usually I'm not a fan of woody dry downs or even like citrus. I would say citrus fruity florals would be my favorite over like citrus woody fragrances, but this one, it just hits. There's also a little bit of ginger in it for some slight zestiness, which ginger might be just my overall favorite fragrance note of life. I love the way that it smells, and I love the like spicy aspect it gives fragrances while not being, again, like those denser spices that make a fragrance lean more baked good like. This one is just such a great one to throw on for like, I just need a fragrance. I don't want to think about it, but I want to smell good. I got this full size, thankfully, from my friend over on Perfume Talk, Haven. She's behind Uncommon Smells, and thank you so much. I don't even know if she would watch this. I've already told her thank you personally, but I just have to every time say thank you, Haven, because otherwise my life would be significantly not as good without this fragrance in it and without having a full size, because I definitely finished my travel size that I had and the sample that I had. So another ginger bomb is the You Better Glow fragrance mist from Body by TPH. This is the mandarin and ginger one, and this is like a more sweet and not woody version of Libertine. It has that ginger there. It also has mandarin, so just a different citrus than the pomelo that is in Libertine. They layer so well together, honestly. And this is just, again, one that is really nice, bright, zesty. I wore this to bed last night, actually, and I have the matching lotion, and I'm actually really happy to have the spray over having the lotion because I'm trying to actually finish up the lotion since it's not one that gives my skin exactly what I need, even though I really like the scent. Again, the scent is amazing on both of them, and that's why I even like wanted the fragrance mist. And I remember being in Walmart and being like, you don't really need this, Kai. Like, you don't need another fragrance. You could go without this. You have the lotion, and the lotion is actually really fragrant as well. But I was just kind of like, I see it. And honestly, it's often out of stock in a lot of places. So I'm going to get it while I see it. It wasn't even on the actual, I think, Body by TPH shelf. I want to say that I found it like someone leaving it because they have all of the fragrances locked up and stuff. So I think someone had gotten it out, and I was just kind of like, well, if you don't have to ask, you know, an employee to unlock the glass, then maybe it was meant to be. That's what I took it as. We're down to our final two fragrances of the year, and one of them is House of Beau Rosario. I know this is from Scentbird. That's where I got the decant from, but I can't wholeheartedly recommend Scentbird because of some of the things the CEO has said that are a little bit wonky, a little bit not how I want to align myself, or not someone I want to align myself with. But I really do like House of Beau Rosario. I'm glad that I was able to try it before I canceled my Scentbird subscription, because this is a beautiful rose fragrance. It has like this fresh rose and citrus like top accords, and then it has like a little bit of woodiness, but there's also this really nice incense in the dry down, or honestly it's throughout the entire wear of the fragrance, but especially as like the rose and the citrus, I think it's Italian lemon in the top start wearing away a little more, you really get that incense that comes through. And it's like not a super smoky, dense incense. It's more of like if you've smelled dragon's blood, where it has kind of like a aromatic scent to it, but it's not like the nose clearing type of aromatic. I think the word for that is camphorous. It's not like that. It's not like eucalyptus or anything. It's just like, again, it just smells like dragon's blood incense filling your room, or like going into a room where someone had been burning incense, versus it being, again, that like strong smoky smell. So it's a really interesting one, not like a lot of other rose fragrances that I've tried. And I think that's the reason why it was so unique to me, because, there's a lot of like soapy clean roses, even though there's one that I talked about in this video that I really like. It's a soapy clean laundry detergent rose. There's also a bunch of citrus roses. There's syrupy roses. There's more, like the Delina type of roses, green roses, but I just feel like something about the rose and incense combination in here, and just the incense note in general, like I need everyone to study whoever the perfumer was for this one and study their incense note like down to the minutia. This is such a good fragrance. And the last one I have is another viral fragrance, because I am just like everyone else. It's Kayali, the Wedding Silk Santal. I didn't get to try this when it originally came out, but when they announced that it was coming back and it was going to be a permanent release, I was like, okay, I can finally get my hands on it. And I did technically buy it without smelling it first or sampling it first, but I bought the small size and almost wish that I had bought the full size, because even though it is kind of like just a sweet vanilla type of fragrance, it's almost like if you had vanilla 28 and added some fruits and a little bit of lightness because there's a champagne note in there. I know there's a lot of people that were like, oh, I feel as though people made this out to be like a fragrance that smelled different than every other fragrance. And I won't say that it smells different than every other vanilla fragrance or like vanilla slightly fruity fragrance, but there's something about this one that's really captivating. I get compliments on it. I wore it on my birthday and my friends said that I smelled like icing, like on a cake. So if that kind of gives you a frame of reference to what it smells like to other people. And it's just one that even as I'm sitting here, I keep smelling it and opening it. It's one that whenever I pass by my little perfume area, I will go in and pick this one up and sniff it. So even though, again, one that kind of was in my collection a little bit later in the year or added to my collection later in the year, one that I have just found myself wearing a lot and have found myself drawn to, like enough to go by and like sniff it every single time I pass my perfume area. But anyway, that is my top 15 fragrances of the year. Let me know if you want to hear more in depth about any of these, and I can direct you to videos where I have talked more in depth about them, or I can just talk more in depth about them on here. Anyway, I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy wherever you are when you're watching this. I am going to go get some pizza and drink some water because we can tell my throat is starting to get that like, oh, you need to drink some water. You've been talking for a really long time type of graveliness to it. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.